Weekly news. Weekly news.
Education, politics,
Economics, culture. Weekly news, a round-wrap of national news of the week on Renouveau TV every Saturday.
Weekly news, the news to English speakers.
You're watching Renouveau TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on Weekly News. Once more, welcome on Renouveau TV. This evening, we're going to talk about El Adha and the sheep. Muslims sacrifice a sheep on the day of El Adha or Tabaski feast to symbolize the adoration they bring to the Creator. Is slaughtering of sheep an obligation? And what are the principles? These are among other questions we're going to answer this afternoon with our guest, who is Mr. Ousmane DRAME, Imam DRAME. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome on Renouveau TV.
Thank you so much for having me with you.
Okay, so it's really a pleasure for me, Imam, to have you with me here on Renouveau TV. First of all, what is El Adha?
Thank you so much for having me here. And also the question saying that what is the Eid al-Adha, what is the meaning of it? So if you listen to the word Eid al-Adha, you can see that is a combination of two words. One is Eid and the other one is al-Adha. So it is in Arabic terms, and looking at the sensitivity of the time, I will not go into the technical meaning of it. I'll just give you the way that you will understand. It's one of the festival which our Creator Allah happened to give it to these nations. One is called the festival of sacrificing animal, and the other one is a festival of breaking the fast. So we as Muslims, we have two festivals in our religion. One is called Eid al-Fitr, that is the festival of breaking the fast. And the second one is called Eid al-Adha, is the festival of sacrificing the animal.
Okay, so before going far, let's remind you that Imam DRAME is Imam of MASJID ALFAROOK in Chicago, USA. So Imam, once more, welcome. The second question is, why do Muslims sacrifice sheep?
Thank you so much. Once again, as we said, we have two festivals in our deen, and one marks the ending of the Ramadan, and the other one marks almost the ending of the ritual of the Hajj. So at the end, and we will sacrifice an animal, and those animals have a regulation and a condition which I believe will come to it. So we do it in terms of worshiping Allah, at the same time reviving the tradition of our prophets, Prophet Abraham, peace be on him. So we know the history of how he went on to slaughtering his son. Then afterwards, Allah happened to free his son with the sheep. So we will slaughter the sheep, we as Muslims, for two. Number one, as worship of Allah, and number two, as reviving the tradition of the Prophet Ibrahim.
Okay, so Imam, can we talk more about the slaughtering of sheep started, how it started?
Okay, thank you so much. The question is, how did all this slaughtering of sheep come into existence? Of course, if you go back in history, you will see that Prophet Ibrahim, who was sent by Allah as a prophet, and he spent the first time of his life without having a child. And he asked Allah to bless him with a child, and he was blessed with the child. And then when the child started to grow up, and the moment that he started to enjoy his son, and then he had a dream, and that dream was that he must slaughter his son, meaning he must sacrifice his son for the pleasure of his Creator. He did not hesitate, and he went and explained to the son the dream that he had. And the son also said, Ya abati fa'al ma tu'mar, oh my dear father, go ahead and carry out the command that you receive from your creator, and I promise I will be patient with you. So Ibrahim went on to carry out the dream that he had, which was a revelation. So at that point in time, and the Almighty Allah happened to ransom his son Ismail by giving Prophet Ibrahim a sheep to slaughter. So that tradition, and Allah himself said that this is indeed a great action that happened to take place, and will make sure that we keep the tradition alive in the later generation to come.
Okay, now in this case, Imam, who is obliged to do it?
Thank you. That's a good question. So having said that, the question was who is obligated to slaughter and who is not obligated to slaughter. Okay. So the scholars in Islam has differed into two groups. Some groups say that as a Muslim, you must slaughter this sheep as long as you can afford. And some said, no, it's not an obligation, meaning it's not obligatory, but it is a highly recommended that we should do. But our Prophet, peace be on him, he said in hadith that Man wajada sa'atan li'an yudahi, anyone whom Allah happened to bless him with enough resources so he can slaughter, and the person must slaughter. So we can understand from this hadith, as long as you can afford to slaughter, you must do it. If you don't do it, then you will be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you do not have money, the hadith clearly says, Man wajada sa'a, anyone whom Allah happened to bless with enough money that he can slaughter, he must do it. So if I don't have money, then I'm exempted from this obligation. I don't know if I can answer something into that. We have to understand that this ritual of sacrificing animal, it has 3 layers, meaning there is a spiritual aspect of it, and there is a social aspect of it, and there is also a personal development aspect in it. So number 1 is something that we must to do it seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah said it in the Quran, the animal that we slaughter, the blood doesn't reach Allah and the meat doesn't reach Allah. What concerns Allah in that action is the internal motivation we have. If I may quote an ayah there, Allah said, لَن يَنَالَ اللَّهَ لُحُومُهَا وَلَا دِمَاؤُهَا وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. So this is pretty much the ayah that we just referred to it. So it's first and foremost is an act of ritual, and one should question himself, why am I doing these things? Am I doing it to please Allah, or am I doing just for the cultural basis? If you are doing to please Allah, then good luck, you will be rewarded. Now the second and third, those are to eat the meat or give it to your family. But one thing you see in our society nowadays, many people happen to forget about the spiritual aspect of this. Someone who doesn't have money completely, and the person will go around and said, my brother, this Eid, my family do not have a meat. Can you please help me with 50 meal or something like that? So it's like the person is doing it on the cultural basis. Had you said, my brother, I am not able to slaughter meat this year to please my creator, you can understand. But we are asking of money, the first thing we'll say, my family do not have a meat this year. It's not meant for that. It's meant to first and foremost gain the pleasure of Allah. So my advice to all the brothers, first, if you have a money, you must do it. But if you don't have a money, relax. Don't bother yourself. You don't need to go and borrow a money or beg someone. No, if you can afford to buy chicken and slaughter that, bring that to your wife. Okay, I don't have a meat this year, and I'm exempted because لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Anything that you cannot do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not hold you accountable for not doing that, because He knows you and He knows your financial capacity. And I'm advising to all of our listeners, please, if you don't have a money, don't bother yourself. If it's because of your wife, make her understand this is first and foremost an act of ritual. I don't have a money, so this is how much I can afford, 1 chicken or 1 guinea head. You slaughter that in your house, then you cook the day of Eid, you eat. Number 1. Number 2, or if you have money, but your money is not completed, right? And Islam says 7 people can come together and get the share in a cow. If I have a 35 mil, like a $70, you have it, then we call each other in our community. 7 of you, if you put your money together, you slaughter a cow, then you eat the meat and you gain the pleasure of Allah. I prefer that than going to ask people to give you money. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the Sahaba, they used to come together and slaughter a goat, or let me say this, a camel. They are better than us. So there is nothing wrong for us to come together and put our little resources and slaughter a cow. And if you don't have it, this one, you don't have that one, then just don't worry. Allah will still reward you based upon your intention, because innamal a'malu binniyat. The deed are judged or rewarded based upon the intention. May Allah give us a better understanding.
Amen. So, Imam, one of the questions to know is that what kind of sheep do we slaughter?
Okay. Thank you so much. Of course, the animals that we are allowed to slaughter as a udhiyah, as in the Eid of sacrifice, are 4: camel, cow, sheep, and goat. And they have a conditions. If it's a camel, it must be from age of 5 and up. And if it's a cow, it must be age of 2 and up. And if it's a goat or sheep, it must be 6 months and up, not less than that. If it's a sheep, 1 year. And if it's a goat, maybe 6 months. So I'm going to repeat again. If it's a camel, usually we are living in a place where we don't oftenly slaughter the camel, but some part of the region going towards the north, I think somewhere they have a camel. So it have to be age of 5 and up, not under. And if it's a cow, it has to be 2 and up, not under. And if it's a sheep, it has to be at least 1 year and up. And if it's a goat, 6 months. And these are the condition in terms of age. Now, in terms of a physical shape, and the animal must be free from some kind of defect. Number 1, it must not be a blind or one eye. If it's a one eye, then it's not good to be udhiyah. Or it must not be sick to a point that is so obvious you can see. And it must not be also a limping, right? And it must not also be very skinny. It has to be healthy and it has to be well maintained. So these are the conditions. One are related to the age, the other one is the physical being of the animal.
Okay, so these are some of the questions today, but Imam, let's compare Mali, you, because you Imam at MASJID ALFAROOK or mosque in Chicago, USA. So how do you slaughter? How do you have your tabaski there sometimes?
Thank you so much for this question, and I'm sure that we are clear on the question that we've answered in the beginning of the talk. So there, of course, the situation is a bit different from here, but at the end of the day, we're all celebrating this Eid, trying to gain the pleasure of Allah and also reviving the tradition of our prophets, may peace be on all of them. There we encourage people, those whom Allah bless them, that they must slaughter. They have no excuse not to slaughter. And if they don't need a meat, they still have to slaughter and give meat to those that are in need. That's why many of them, even though they are young men, they are not even married, still some of them will send their money to Mali, some will send to different places, please slaughter for me and give the meat to others. But at the same time, we tell those who also cannot afford, and Allah knows them, He knows their intention, and then He will reward them definitely based upon their intention. Now, there, the Eid doesn't make people lazy and doesn't make them cripple. I must say this. This is a very important. In America, we will go to the masjid, and the day of Eid, you will come with your work clothes. You do the Eid prayer. When Imam gives salam, then you get up. You don't even listen to the lecture sometimes. You go to work. Because these people, they've understood the meaning of the Eid. The Eid is a day designated by our Creator to renew His blessing and to shower us with His mercy. So it's more about praying, getting the blessing from Allah. If you are blessed, and share that blessing with your family and your surrounding. But here we'll see that the Eid is not understood mostly by people. We see it to be occasion of everything else except the worship of Allah. People are busy now getting their hair done, getting their clothes done, and having some meat to slaughter for people to eat. They don't even come to the Eid prayer.
Really?
And 3 days before Eid, nothing works. Even those that are do the construction work, they're not working. Why you're not working is because of the Eid. And 3 days after Eid again, they are not working.
Yeah.
Eid is not meant for that. So hopefully people will understand Eid is a spiritual occasion for someone to get himself closer to his Creator and to also benefit himself and benefit his surrounding. And if you look at our countries, we are still behind in the race. And I don't know if this will make much sense. When we are in a race, the reality tells us people that are behind, they will remain behind unless they run faster than the one are ahead of them. I will explain this to you. If you look at in our banking system, 3 days before Eid, you cannot get your money. And 3 days after, you still can't get your money. Whatever you want to do, you cannot, simply because tomorrow is Eid. This doesn't make sense at all. Anyway, so in short, if you have a question, I'll take. If not, then I will dive into something else.
Okay, go on.
If you have a question, let me not take all of your questions.
This question is that beside today's topic, how Muslim is seen in America?
How Muslim is seen in America? That's a very good question. Of course, first, before we turn the page on Eid, the Eid of sacrifice, I say that it has the 3 aspects. Number 1, spiritual aspect. Make sure that you are doing whatever you do on the day of Eid to get the pleasure of your Creator, number 1. And number 2, make sure you benefit yourself, you benefit your society. If I have money, if Allah bless me, and instead of me to buy a sheep for 250,000, I will go and buy 1 cow. For 250,000, I'll slaughter, I'll eat the meat, and I'll make sure that the people around me also benefit. That is more beneficial than for me to be selfish and just worry about my small family and not worry about people around. So I'm saying that to say those whom Allah bless them, please be mindful of others around you. Don't think just about your family. This Eid is not just about eating a meat. It's about maximizing your chances to be blessed by Allah. So that's a social aspect. The individual aspect is the meaning of making sacrifice. Sacrifice means to give something that means more to you for something that is even more valuable than that. Right. So because we don't have a sense of making a sacrifice, that's why we African in general and Malian in particular, we are behind. If you look at our youth, nobody is willing to make any sacrifice. We are just sitting, criticizing, and talking, WhatsApping, chit-chatting, nothing else.
Unfortunately.
That's our problem. So it's like we are coming into this Eid, going out without learning any lesson. Those countries that happen to be developed and they have everything, they've made sacrifice. Anything, whether it's be a concept, it's be a religion, it's be anything, it cannot really become valuable unless the followers are willing to make sacrifice. Sacrifice means something that you love so much, but let it go for something better. You want to rest, but sometimes you have to sacrifice your rest, right?
That's true.
You will see nowadays a student, we just finished taking a national exam. The student just want to talk. They don't want to sacrifice that rest and open the textbook and read, right? So we can say more in that extent, but I think we should learn that aspect of sacrifice more from this Eid than anything. If we want our country to be developed and to be like other developed nations, we must be willing to make some sacrifices. Our founding father, they've made a sacrifice so that the country become a free. Right?
Yeah.
They've sacrificed whatever they have it. Even in terms of religion, the religion was able to reach us here because the Sahaba, they were willing to sacrifice everything. They've sacrificed their wealth, they've sacrificed their well-being, they've sacrificed their family, they've even sacrificed their very life for the religion to be here. But we're not ready to do any of that. No wonder why we are still in this situation. And we hope and pray that Allah will guide us and help us to be willing to make some sacrifices. So the Muslims in U.S., I can say, I can be wrong, but based upon my judgment, we are doing better there than we are here. Yeah, I can say that.
Okay, so Imam, now as we're talking about Al-Hada, what message are you going to give to the Muslim community as today is the celebration of this feast?
And my message to the Muslim community, first, 2 layers. Those that Allah blessed them with the money, and I want them to see this as an occasion for them to get themselves closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once again, we know that the sheep is good, your family wants that, but please think about those around you. If you cannot buy a sheep and give it to every last person that cannot afford, at least instead of buying a sheep with 250,000 or 300,000, buy a cow. You eat, then you give others around you. That's for the rich people. Now, the people that they cannot afford to buy, if you cannot afford it, this is a matter of worshiping Allah. It's not a culture. Please don't bother yourself. If you have some money is not enough to buy a sheep, look for another people around you that are in a similar situation like you. You put your 30,000, 35,000 together. You go, you buy a cow, 7 of you. You slaughter, you are able to worship Allah, and you get some meat for your family. But even if you don't have that money, whatever money you have, even if it's 2,000 francs, 3,000 francs, go ahead and buy chicken and slaughter that and bring it so that at least in the day of Eid, you can get something to eat. But don't worry, Allah knows your intention and He knows your condition. Don't go around and beg people. Moreover, to go do something haram. That's for the head of family. Now the youth, the younger generation, and this is mainly, the festivals and a celebration are day of joys and happiness. And every nation has that. And we are not saying don't be happy. We're not saying don't celebrate. But Islam first give us the parameter how to celebrate these things in the way that it will benefit you, individual, family, and surrounding. But if you leave the Islamic guidance and principle on the side and just follow your desires, instead of this day to be a day of benefit, it will be a day of sorrow and sadness. Last example to give it to you. Every nation has a Eid, meaning the day of festival. For instance, I just left the U.S. The last celebration they did, it was the 4th of July. They call the Independence Day. All right? So because they don't follow no guideline from a divine creator, everybody do whatever they want. In Chicago alone, last year, we have a 115 or 20 shooting. Just Chicago, I'm talking about one city, 20 to 25 people got killed. All right? That's Chicago. Imagine in America, we have a 50 state. We have more than thousands of cities. So maybe just in one holiday, maybe the number of life that was lost, only God can tell us. And I assure you, we are doing the same thing here in Mali. And the day of Eid or the next day, if we are to take the number of the casualty, people that got hurt, people that got killed, people that, you will be shocked. This is not the way you celebrate. This is not the way you show your happiness. These things is meant to benefit you, but we are losing. People go and club and dance and drink and no. This is not what it's meant for. Please let us understand the meaning of Eid. It's all about worshiping Allah. At the same time, we want to keep the spirit of happiness and joy. But Islam gave us the guideline. You take a shower in the morning and you go first to the mosque, you pray, you listen to the lecture, and there will be a lot of blessing. Even those that are not praying as a woman, still they can go, because it's the day that Allah will shower us with His mercy. Then after that, you slaughter, you eat, you give to those that cannot afford, you socialize, you greet each other, you renew your joys and happiness. So make it a day of blessing, not a day of punishment.
Okay, day of blessing, not day of punishment. Okay, Imam, one more question. So during this day, are we, as Muslims, are we authorized to invite people of another belief?
Yeah. So this is a day, of course, when we live in a society, mostly in Mali here, we'll say that we are 90 or more % of Muslims. So mostly is a day of a holiday to us. We should invite, we should socialize, and even if you have a non-Muslim friend, there is nothing wrong to invite him for the day. And we do that in Chicago when we slaughter, and then we will have a big barbecue. All right, we will fry we'll barbecue the meat, and people that are passing on the street will give it to them. And they eat, they get to know that what's going on. We'll say, well, today is our day of festival. So we can do the same thing here too. And this meat, you can eat yourself, or you can give to those that need it. They can be a Muslim, they can even be a non-Muslim. And of course, and there's nothing wrong to invite your Christian friend or someone else who is not even a Christian, and there is no harm in that.
Okay, so Imam, as it's almost time, do you have something to add to what we say this evening?
Once again, I think if I have to say anything, I will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who happened to bless us to see today and to give us a chance to live to see tomorrow. Because many brothers and sisters, they happened to witness the Eid of 2018. They were hoping and anticipating the Eid of 2019, but unfortunately Allah took them. And you and I, we are here. This is a blessing. And before Maghrib time or Fajr, many of us will be living. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you and I a chance to live to see the Eid. And then if we happen to see the Eid, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to follow the guideline of our divine creator. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those that Allah bless them with the money, they can use this to gain more reward from Allah by giving to those that are less fortunate. And those whom that Allah didn't bless them with enough, to be patient and to understand that Allah has made them the way He made them based upon some wisdom. And the young folk, be happy, enjoy the Eid, but don't get yourself in trouble. It does not mean that. And I hope my message reached to you. Thank you.
Inshallah. Thank you. So we're going to put an end to this program this afternoon here. Our guest was Mr. Imam Ousmane DRAME. Imam DRAME is at MASJID ALFAROOK, Chicago, USA. So we've been very pleased with you today, Mr. Imam. So fans of Renouveau TV, we're going to put an end to this program here. We are very happy to be with you today, and we hope to be together next time at the same time on the same channel. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Weekly news.
Education, politics,
Economics, culture. Weekly news, a round-wrap of national news of the week on Renouveau TV every Saturday.
Weekly news, the news to English speakers.